Welcome to NarrativeNook where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening. In a shocking turn of events, Arabella found herself bound to a chair, her cell phone tossed down the stairs by the spiteful Martha, who spitefully claimed that Arabella could have led a decent life elsewhere, yet she chose to come back to her doom. The room was filled with outrage, tempers flaring like a bull seeing red. Martha, in her utter disrespect, had the audacity to yank Arabella's ponytail. Louisa was beside herself with fury and panic, her voice tinged with anger and urgency. "That damn Martha, how dare she?" The thought of her daughter's hair being pulled like that was enough to break her heart. But Martha didn't stop there. She had people search Arabella, insisting she should keep a low profile in the family. This twisted sense of morality stoked the fires of fury in everyone present. As the confrontation between Arabella and Martha unfolded, it became clear that Serena had been up to no good. Her attempts to seduce Romeo, both overt and covert, were unforgivable offenses. Yet, Martha didn't see anything wrong with Serena's actions. Instead, she blamed Arabella for returning. These values, or rather the lack thereof, had everyone ready to skin the old hag alive. From their exchange, Louisa was horrified to learn that Martha had dared to drug the soup, intending to give her precious daughter a horrible case of diarrhea. No wonder Bella had suddenly insisted on letting Martha have the soup. She must have realized something was off. That meant Martha had the gall to bully their darling girl right in front of them. This wretched woman. Kenneth couldn't even finish his sentence before Louisa gasped in horror. Martha had picked up a whip to lash at their precious Bella, threatening to ruin her face, to cut off her hands and feet. That was the last straw for Kenneth. In a blind rage, he flipped the coffee table, sending everything flying towards Serena. The sound of shattering glass filled the room as the large tabletop broke into pieces, causing Serena, who had never seen her father so angry, to pale with fear. Glass shards flew all around her, one slicing past her chin, leaving her utterly shaken. Then everyone watched as Martha sent Serena a video call, threatening to scar Arabella's face, to chop off her limbs, to push her from the 18th floor, and then to chop her up into pieces and grind her down the garbage disposal, so that the Collins family would never find her. Eyes blazed with anger as everyone turned to Serena. Serena was petrified, her soul almost leaving her body at the thought of the camera capturing everything so clearly. Martha suggested carving words into Arabella's face, and Serena, rather than protesting, excitedly suggested they should carve one word on each side, bitch on one cheek and slut on the other. Eunice couldn't believe her eyes, and in a fit of rage, she hurled the mug from the side table next to the couch right at Serena's face. It wasn't the same coffee table that Kenneth had flipped over earlier. This mug had been resting on a small, oval side table by the arm of the sofa. The mug hit Serena square in the cheek, the lukewarm coffee burning her already injured chin, splashing all over her face and clothes, leaving her a total mess. But by now, Serena was petrified, her spirit practically shattered. Eunice got up and marched over to her, slapping her across the face repeatedly. "You think you can mess with my Bella and get away with it? The Collins have been too kind to you." Serena, trembling with fear, managed a weak "auntie." With a snarl, Eunice kicked her hard, as if this ungrateful girl had no right to call her auntie. Serena fell back into the shattered glass, and though her winter clothes were thick, her palms and the back of her hands were cut and bleeding, shaking from the pain. The video continued to play in the background. The gathering crowd started to uncover the hidden truths behind the fire incident. It wasn't Martha who had cunningly switched the babies, she had just taken advantage of the situation. Seeing her own daughter being taken to the Collins, she schemed to work her way into their household. But the real mastermind behind the fire was someone else. Martha knew who it was but refused to spill the beans, only hinting that the person was very powerful. Who could it be? Who would want to harm their precious daughter? Who wished them dead? As Martha was about to carve letters into Arabella's face, Serena didn't intercede for Arabella. Instead, she demanded Arabella beg her, kneel, and knock her head on the ground 10 times, admitting it was a mistake to return to this family. Louisa, watching all this, was seething with anger and snatched up a footstool nearby, hurling it at Serena. Serena was terrified out of her wits. She had never seen her mother so furious before. The video ended there, but there were 2 more messages in the chat, sent from Romeo's phone by Arabella. Dad, my phone's broken, so I'm using Romeo's to check in. I'm safe with him and not hurt, don't worry about me. Eric and Martha are Serena's biological parents. The next few pages are DNA tests proving they're a family. Don't let Eric escape, he's probably part of Doom too, and can't be unlinked from these events. Upon reading this, Kenneth immediately commanded, "Someone fetch Eric Lot for me." His orders were promptly acknowledged. "Hold on," Bard stood up and said, "if he's one of Doom's, the regular guards won't be able to handle him. I'll go." Eunice gave him a look and warned, "Be careful." Bard nodded and passed by Serena without so much as a glance. To him, she might as well have been a ghost, a complete stranger. Serena was left feeling like she was teetering on the edge of an abyss. Louisa, tears streaming down her face in fury, approached her and said bitterly, "So it turns out your real parents are still alive. I had no idea they were my biological parents." Serena's voice trembled, her face drained of color as tears streamed down her cheeks. "I only found out just now." To make matters worse, her birth mother had died that very day, having fallen from the 18th floor. Louisa was livid with rage. "Your mother brought a gang to kidnap my daughter. They pulled her hair, whipped her, slapped her twice. Today, I'm going to get justice for my girl." "Mom." Serena was petrified. Before she could beg for mercy, Louisa raised her hand and struck Serena with a series of harsh slaps. Serena's face swelled from the blows, a trickle of blood running from the corner of her mouth. Just then, Edith approached with a rolling pin in hand. "Ma'am, we didn't have a whip, but this should do." The rolling pin, typically used by chefs to roll out dough, now found a different use. Serena was both angry and desperate, never having imagined Edith would kick her when she was down, fetching a rolling pin from the kitchen. The rolling pin was solid wood, as if they wished her dead. Louisa, unable to find anything else suitable, seized the rolling pin with fierce determination and struck hard. Serena instinctively raised her hands to protect herself, but the blow from the wooden rolling pin was so painful that it drained the color from her face. "You watched Bella get kidnapped, threatened, humiliated. You didn't plead for her once. Instead, you reminded your mother to be careful of Bella wearing a wire or a hidden camera, fearing any slip-ups." Louisa lashed out at Serena, "You traitorous, heartless wretch." Serena collapsed onto the glass shards, her palms and the backs of her hands pierced by countless pieces. Pain coursed through her body, causing her to tremble, nearly fainting from the shock. "Did you think that without Bella here, you could take her place? With Bella gone, you could be the darling Miss Collins again? Did you think without Bella, your engagement to Romeo could just carry on? I never thought that." As soon as Serena spoke, Louisa swung the rolling pin again, landing another punishing blow. The rolling pin struck her shoulder, and Serena's body went limp from the pain, a sharp sensation overwhelming her senses, making her gasp for air, realizing any further struggle was futile. Louisa was consumed by fury, her voice cracking. If it wasn't for Bella's own wit, that vile woman would have disfigured her, chopped off her hands and feet, pushed her off the building. She even said she wanted to grind Bella's flesh and flush her down the drain. Absolutely monstrous and appalling. Perhaps too enraged and disappointed in Serena, tears streamed down Louisa's face, a mix of sorrow and anger. How could she have raised such a monster? For 18 years, she was blind, treating this monster like the jewel of her life. Serena was terrified, tears flowing like a fountain, crawling over the glass shards to clutch at Louisa's pant leg, pleading desperately. "Mom, I was wrong. I was momentarily blinded, and I don't dare ask for your forgiveness. Just please don't harm yourself over someone like me. It's not worth it." Louisa's fury was like a thunderous storm. "Stop with your false displays of remorse in front of me." Serena sobbed miserably, "Mom, I truly realize my mistake now." Louisa looked at her with cold disdain. "When you video called your mother, seeing all her henchmen, you weren't surprised at all. That means you've known for a long time that she was with Doom, yet you kept it from us, complicit in her crimes. Tell me, what exactly was she and Eric plotting by infiltrating the Collins family for all these years?" Louisa couldn't believe they were there just to be with their biological daughter. There had to be another agenda. Over the past 18 years, the Collins family had weathered many storms, perhaps orchestrated by those two. Serena sobbed uncontrollably. I really had no idea they were my real parents, and I had no clue what they've been up to all these years, working in secret for the Collins family. I've made a terrible mistake, and I admit, when Arabella came back home, I was scared and jealous. I did things that are unforgivable. Mom, I can't even begin to hope for your forgiveness. Just let me have it. I don't deserve to live in this world anymore. You think I'm going to let you live? Louisa's fury drained the color from Serena's face, sending chills down her spine. Her mother, once so indulgent and doting, now looked as if she truly wanted her dead. Those eyes were filled with a murderous rage and intense loathing. Serena was genuinely terrified, her mind a blank slate and her body trembling as she looked up at her mother. You wanted Bella to beg you, didn't you? You wanted her to bow her head to you 10 times. Louisa's anger rose uncontrollably. You want to live? Then beg for it, properly. Panicked and with tears streaming down her face, Serena was already kneeling on shattered glass, but her mother still wasn't ready to let her off the hook. Worse, she was being forced to bow her head in apology. She knew her mother was venting for Arabella, but at that moment, she had no other choice. I'm sorry. Serena's tears fell as she sobbed, bowing her head to her mother. Her pale forehead hit the ground, littered with broken glass, and instantly, several spots of blood appeared. I've been ungrateful for the years of care from Mom and Dad. I've been worse than a beast. Serena cried as she continued, I've been deluded, I'm sorry for all the hurt I've caused my sister, sorry to the entire Collins family, I was wrong, terribly wrong, for doing something so heartless. Blood was now streaming from her forehead, the droplets merging and growing larger before streaking down her face. The beads of blood on her once fair cheeks were a shocking sight. Looking up through tear-filled eyes, Serena spoke with profound regret, Mom, I know, nothing I say now can make up for the harm I've caused to my sister, for the wounds in your hearts, I've let you down. Louisa's tears fell in grief and anger, her heart felt as though it was being carved with 1,000 knives, shaking her very being. They had been so blind to have doted on her as their own daughter. If it weren't for the Collins family, what sort of life do you think your family of 3 would be living? Have you ever thought about that? Kenneth asked bitterly. Serena saw in her once kind father's eyes a mixture of rage and tears. Even the servants in the living room looked at her with disdain, revulsion, disgust. It was only then that Serena realized that without the Collins family, she and her birth parents would likely be living an ordinary life, with her parents working 9-to-5 jobs to make ends meet. She would have attended a regular school, lived in an average house, without dozens of servants to wait on her, no luxury cars to drive her, no expensive skincare products or pretty dresses every day. Nor would she have had the chance to mingle with the ladies, or to acquaint herself with the high society, meeting successful people like Romeo. She might just have ended up like an average college graduate, finding a stable job, marrying an utterly unremarkable man, and continuing to lead an ordinary life. It was the Collins family that had surrounded her with luxury, giving her endless dignity and respect. It was the Collins family that had afforded her a life of privilege and ease. Had it not been for the Collins family, she could never have attended the finest preschool from a young age or received the best education. She wouldn't have had so many tutors of renown teaching her music, chess, art. She wouldn't be dressed every day in limited edition clothes and shoes, or carrying designer handbags. An average office worker might save for months on end before daring to step foot in a high-end boutique to purchase the most basic piece. But whenever she made an appearance, the store manager would either escort her to the VIP room or close the shop to serve her exclusively. Any new arrivals would be sent directly to her home for her to choose at leisure. A single one of her skincare products could be equivalent to a month, or even several months of expenses for an ordinary family. Her parents gave her an extravagant allowance, fulfilling her endless desires, and yet her tears flowed freely as she closed her eyes, seemingly filled with immense regret. Just then, Bard returned with a few bodyguards, their mission unsuccessful. Eunice, sensing something, crossed her arms and asked in a calm voice, "Got away?" They were gone before Edith brought her here. I checked the surveillance, Bard reported, glancing at the girl on the floor. Eric may figure that after 18 years in this household, everyone had grown fond of Serena, so they wouldn't really do her any harm, which was why Eric didn't take her along. Your biological father really spared no expense. Eunice gave Serena a cold look, pulling out her phone to call Hans. Her influence in the country paled in comparison to that of the Collins family, and currently, the most influential among them was Hans. She briefed Hans on the situation, asking him to look into Eric's whereabouts. Hans had been away on business overseas, planning to clear his schedule to spend the holidays with his sister. He hadn't anticipated such a mess. He had warned Serena before, and yet she hadn't heeded the advice, thoroughly disappointing him. "Don't worry. I'll have someone on it immediately." Hans's voice was as calm as ever, as if nothing could shake him. "As long as Bella is safe, that's all that matters. I'll handle Mom and Dad. I'm flying back tonight and will be home tomorrow." Good. Eunice liked Hans's straightforward manner. After hanging up, she turned to Serena with a commanding presence. "From now on, you're Serena Lot." Serena hadn't expected her aunt to inform Hans so quickly. Once Hans knew, her other brothers would soon find out. The thought of them reacting with the same fury as her parents, or even worse, being disappointed in her made Serena's heart ache. At first, all she wanted was to keep her parents' and brothers' love. "Lock her in the basement. Spread the word her father can pay a ransom for her," Louisa suggested, seemingly overcome with grief and anger, her steps unsteady as if she could hardly walk. "Mom." Serena started to move towards Louisa to help her, but Eunice stepped in first, steadying Louisa just in time. Louisa had passed out, and Eunice looked to Edith with a calm command, "Call the family doctor." "I'll carry her." Kenneth, who seemed to have aged a decade in a moment, was about to lift Louisa when his vision blurred, his heart clenching tight as a rock, struggling to breathe. "Let me handle this." Bard hoisted his sister into his arms, taking the stairs one by one. "You okay to walk?" Eunice whispered to Kenneth. Kenneth clutched his chest, gasping for air for what seemed like an eternity before he finally nodded through his tears. With a shaky hand on the banister, he began his slow ascent. As Serena watched his frail and despairing figure retreat, a twinge of conscience pricked her heart, and she was suddenly consumed with regret. What had she done to bring everything to this point? Eunice gazed at the young woman before her. Her forehead, cheeks, and chin were covered in blood, her clothes were damp, her hair a tangled mess, and her eyes, once vibrant, now dull with remorse. It seemed she truly comprehended her mistakes. "This family, from the start, has treated you as one of their own. If you hadn't done what you did, you'd be just as important to us as before." In Kenneth and Louisa's eyes, "You and Bella are their dear daughters. Bard and I, we've always seen you as our beloved niece, and to your brothers, you're their cherished sister." Eunice's casual words made Serena lift her tearful eyes in shock, as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. "But it's too late for any of that now." Eunice cut through her fantasies and aspirations with a cold finality. "Your whole family has to pay for your mistakes." "Auntie." Serena sobbed, trying to say more. "Bella survived, that's her own doing. But that doesn't absolve you of the consequences of your actions." Eunice's indifferent figure continued up the stairs, leaving Serena crying out in desperation, "Auntie. Please, one more chance, I promise it's the last time." She truly regretted her actions. She longed to return to the past. She wished she could turn back time. The house staff dragged her down to the storage room in the basement. Calling it a storage room was generous. It was nothing but a small space with a few scattered items, a stark contrast to the luxurious princess room she was accustomed to. She crashed to the floor, the shards of glass digging deeper into her palms and the back of her hands, the pain making her entire body tremble. The cut on her forehead throbbed, her jaw ached, and the bruises from her mother's blows, shoulders, arms, chest, back, all ached in a way that cut her to the core. Tears streamed down Serena's face as she sat lost and broken, unsure of what to do next. She had always harbored some resentment toward Eunice, feeling she favored Arabella. But after hearing Eunice's words, Serena realized she had misunderstood her. Eunice might have seemed cold and stern, but deep down she cared. And then there were her parents. The memory of their disappointed, furious faces twisted her heart. She never imagined Eric and Martha would turn out to be her biological parents, let alone that one would abandon her in a crisis, and the other would fall from the 18th floor. What was she to do? In the master bedroom. Louisa wasn't sure how long she had been unconscious, her dreams haunted by the image of her daughter being slapped by Martha. She shook her head, tears streaming down, before suddenly crying out, "No." Eunice sat at the edge of the bed, stirring a bowl of medicine with a concerned look on her face. As she saw Louisa bolt upright, she asked in a gentle tone, "Awake now?" "Bad dream." Gasping for breath and still shaken, Louisa surveyed her surroundings, realizing she was sitting in her bed, with Eunice by her side. The bedroom was bathed in a warm, yellow glow, and it was pitch dark outside. How did I fall asleep? Louisa's mind was still haunted by the image of her daughter being bullied, and her voice trembled as though she hadn't quite escaped the clutches of the nightmare. "You fainted from stress. The doctor prescribed you some medication. It's a bit hot, but you can drink it in a bit," Eunice said as she set down the bowl and gently rubbed Louisa's back. "What nightmare did you have?" "I dreamed that Bella was being tormented by that old hag." Louisa's voice cracked, and tears welled up in her eyes once again. Even though it was just a dream, the mere thought of Bella actually having been mistreated by that woman in real life filled her with self-loathing. She despised herself for not seeing through the old woman's facade sooner, for not protecting her own daughter, for letting her child suffer right under her nose. The more she thought about it, the more sorrowful she became, tears falling like pearls off a string. "Stop blaming yourself," Eunice whispered soothingly. "What's done is done. You have to look forward. You treated that heartless wretch like your own daughter. Of course, you wouldn't suspect her of doing something so vile behind your back. Who would think so ill of their own child without reason, linking them with poisoning or hiring a hitman?" Louisa's face was streaked with tears. Because they had trusted that wretch so much, based on past impressions of her innocence and kindness, they ended up allowing their own daughter to be wronged, nearly losing her life. "Where's my phone?" Louisa choked out, "I want to call Bella." "Her phone's broken, call Romeo instead." Eunice navigated through her contacts, found Romeo's number, and handed over the phone. "I'll let Kenneth know you're awake, so he won't worry." "Where is he now?" Louisa lifted her gaze to ask. "He's just like you, heartbroken and angry. Bard's trying to console him." Eunice stood up. "I'll be right back." Louisa nodded and dialed Romeo's number. He picked up quickly. "Romeo, are you with Bella?" Louisa tried to suppress her sobs, attempting to sound normal. "What about that old witch Martha? I sent people to fetch her." "She's dead," Romeo's calm voice came from the other end. "Her own goon knocked her off the 18th floor." He knew about it from Bella. It was Martha's man who accidentally hit Martha, sending her plummeting. No one to blame, really. And of course, she got what she deserved. That's what they call poetic justice. Louisa gritted her teeth, but it's too easy a death for her, without giving her a good thrashing first. "Bella did," Romeo said softly. "After the explosion at the derelict building, she was probably burned to ashes." At this news, Louisa felt a slight sense of relief. "Where's Bella now? I need to talk to her." For some reason, she longed for her daughter, yearning to see her. Romeo glanced at the person next to him. "She's asleep." "Is she unwell? Or did she faint from her injuries?" Louisa couldn't help but worry. "Where are you now?" "In a hospital." "It's past 3 in the morning here. She's just a little sleepy," Romeo explained. "We're in the car, planning to catch a flight back home soon." At that moment, Louisa remembered the time difference between them. She had completely forgotten. "Did I wake you up, hon?" Louisa suddenly felt a pang of guilt. "No, I wasn't asleep." "Well, you better catch some Z's. Tomorrow, you're bringing Bella home. We can talk then." "All right." Just as Romeo was about to hang up, he heard Louisa's voice choke up. "Romeo, thank you for saving Bella. If it weren't for him, Bella might not have made it. And they would have been tormented by regret for the rest of their lives." "It wasn't me who saved her," Romeo admitted truthfully. Bella mentioned there were others on the scene, but she didn't say who. She was exhausted, so he had his guys bring around the RV, giving her a comfy bed to catch some proper sleep in. Seeing her deep in slumber, he stepped outside the room to talk, keeping his voice down so as not to wake her. Luckily, someone was there for her. I'll find a way to properly thank them another day. I won't keep you any longer. Get some rest yourself, and drive safe tomorrow. Godspeed, Romeo. We're waiting for you at home. Okay, and don't you worry about Bella. She's in good spirits, strong as an ox. It's you and Mr. Collins I'm concerned about. Don't go making yourselves sick with worry. Okay. Louise's eyes misted over again. After ending the call, memories flooded back, and her tears fell freely. In Belloria Private Hospital, Sean was struggling to keep his eyes open, his vision flickering between light and dark. It took a while before he could make out that he was in a hospital room. Sean, you awake? Steward noticed him stirring and immediately approached. The doc got the bullet out of your back, and your head's all bandaged up too. Also, my phone. Sean wasn't back to his usual sharp self, but there was something pressing on his mind that he had to sort out immediately to avoid complications. Steward was taken aback but quickly handed over the phone. Call Timothy Bynes. What? Steward was shocked that the first person Sean wanted to talk to after waking up was an unrelated outsider. He thought Sean would ask about Miss Bella's whereabouts. What's with the what? You gone deaf? That was the Sean he knew. After Steward dialed and handed over the phone, he switched on the speakerphone. It was well past 3 in the morning, and if he spoke directly to Mr. Bynes, he'd probably get chewed out. But Sean was a different story. Who would dare to give Sean a piece of their mind? Timothy had been plagued by nightmares since Arabella's scare. Ever since he saw the girl jumping from balcony to balcony at the club that night, he feared for her safety. The phone vibrated ceaselessly on the nightstand, and it took him a moment to pick up. It's me. Sean's voice came through, clear on the other end. Timothy was groggy and confused. What could Sean possibly want at this hour? You claimed the girl from Lightfleet as your girlfriend last time? I want you two to split pronto. Tell her you're terminally ill or you've just been hit by a bus and it's all over. Whatever it takes, break it off now. Before Timothy could even respond, he heard the call end with a beep. His mind swarmed with a million questions, utterly baffled. He glanced at the call log. It had definitely been Sean. Last time Sean hunted down Arabella, he lied and called her his girlfriend, begging Sean to cut her some slack. But why was he suddenly so invested in Arabella's affairs, considering he was grinding his teeth in rage over her last time? And now he wanted them to break up? The Collins family has a marriage pact with the Macmillan family, and only someone like Romeo is worthy of my sister, Sean declared. The other guys in town couldn't hold a candle to his sister. Make arrangements, I'm heading home. What? Steward gaped in shock at Sean's words. Sean, you've just had surgery. The doctor said you need to be observed for at least 2 days. My sister must be heartbroken. Having me around could at least be of some comfort. Steward struggled to picture Sean as the comforting type. He was more likely to infuriate people than offer solace. Would Miss Bella even want his comfort? Chances were, seeing him would only fan the flames. Aren't you going to get ready? Sean shot him a chilly glare, noting that his subordinate was getting less and less responsive. Steward hurriedly suggested, I'll get the doctor to check if you can be discharged. Since when is my health decided by others? If I say I'm fine, then I'm fine. Why have you become such a fusspot? Steward wanted to cry out in frustration. Sean, I'm just worried about your health. But at that moment, Sean was eager to get home. Everyone had thought that Romeo and Serena were the perfect match, and now with his sister back home, given her fiery nature, she would never go after Romeo. That left her vulnerable to be duped by someone like Timothy. His sister couldn't just end up with anyone. If she was to be with someone, they had to be the cream of high society. He hadn't interacted with Romeo much before, but the man's looks, demeanor, background and capabilities were clear to see, far better than Timothy's. Get this thing off my head so my sister won't worry, Sean said, not wanting to be bandaged up when he saw her. He wanted to make the best impression. But Stewart thought, Sean's impression on Miss Bella couldn't get any worse. With a bandage on his head, at least she might feel a bit of sympathy. Yet he dared not voice this thought. He knew Sean's rush to get home was because nobody gave him his sister's number, and with New Year's just around the corner, she would surely return home. Sean wanted to wait for her there. Reflections Villa. Eunice went to check on Kenneth, and upon returning to the bedroom, she said to Louisa, "Kenneth's asleep." Bard had the doctor add some sleeping pills to his medicine to ensure he gets a good rest. "Your medicine should be ready now. It's not too hot. I'll help you take it." She sat by the bed and noticed Louisa's eyes were red with tears still at the corners. Still thinking about all that? Eunice lifted the bowl to give her a sip. "That girl did a lot of despicable things, but at least we've unmasked her and cut our losses. We did gain something. We know who her real parents are, and there's more to that fire from years ago." Eunice passed Louisa a couple of tissues to dry her tears, then continued to help her take her medicine. "With her gone, we can focus all our time and love on Bella. We don't have to worry about fairness or favoritism anymore. I just called Romeo. He said he and Bella are on their way back home." Louisa's voice was choked and hoarse. "That's wonderful. With New Year's approaching, it's time for them to return. Hans and his family are coming back too. The house will be even livelier. We can prepare whatever surprises we want for Bella without worrying about the feelings of that girl. We can do as we please." Eunice knew that once upon a time, Kenneth and Louisa had tried to play fair, but no matter what they did, that ungrateful brat was never satisfied, always feeling like they were playing favorites. But now, they could let go of those worries. "Let me do it." Louisa, feeling a bit embarrassed to have her sister-in-law feed her medication all the time, took the cup and downed the medicine in one gulp before asking, "Has the word been spread?" Eunice nodded. "Yep, it's out there. As long as Eric doesn't show up, his darling daughter will go another day without food, and her injuries will go another day without treatment. If he has any ounce of decency, he'll show up within a couple of days. What if he doesn't care about this daughter? Why didn't he take her with him today? If he doesn't care, then what's the use of spreading the word? Will it even lure him out?" Louisa's worry was palpable. They had never realized Eric was such a cunning snake, and if it wasn't for Bella catching his slimy tail, they might still be in the dark about this seemingly gentle and honest man's frightening true nature. If they didn't care about their daughter, they wouldn't have lived under an alias in our house for over a decade, watching her grow up. Just for that, he'll show up sooner or later. And when he does, we'll make sure he gets a taste of his own medicine for 3 days and nights if necessary, Eunice thought, determined to get justice for Bella. Just then, a servant timidly knocked on the bedroom door. "Ma'am, the person in the basement is asking to see you. She's been knocking for half an hour, and we really didn't know what to do but to ask you." Louisa replied coldly, "No." "Yes, ma'am," the servant quickly responded. "I'll deliver the message right away. And for the next few days, no one is to pay her any mind. Don't bother with food or medicine. She won't die from being ignored for a couple of days." The servant was taken aback by Louisa's stern command but bowed and retreated. Her knees were on broken glass, and even though the winter clothes are thick, her skin must be hurt. Now, it's up to her dear father to act. If he's too late, and she's injured, he can't blame us. Eunice's voice was calm and detached as she finished, picked up her cup, and stood up. "You should rest too, stop worrying about it. What's done is done. We need to look ahead. Mom and Dad are arriving tomorrow, and they'd be worried sick if they saw you looking so down." Louisa, reminded of her parents, couldn't help but worry. If Mom and Dad knew about all the horrible things that girl did, it would break their hearts. She feared their old hearts couldn't take the shock. After all, even she had fainted from the stress, let alone her elderly parents. "There's nothing we can do about it," Eunice said plainly. "It's better to know sooner rather than later. We'll just have to invite the family doctor over tomorrow before breaking the news to them. Now, stop fretting and get some rest." There were still so many things that demanded their energy. Louisa nodded, looking out into the dark night, her mood as heavy as the skies above. Meanwhile, Arabella's flight hit some turbulence, jostling the plane.
For listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too.
Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.